Each lightsaber stroke and screaming TIE flyby, every line of dialogue and swell of John Williams' score is etched into the minds of generations of devoted Star Wars fans. However, the Star Wars the world knows today could so easily have been very, very different as it goes. In fact, in some places, George Lucas's initial treatments for the series show little relation to what ended up on screen down the road. So I am Gareth from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 unused Star Wars scenes that would have changed everything. Number 10, Director Krennic's alternative demise. Orson Krennic is one of the finest villains the whole Star Wars series has to offer, an odious rear-echelon bureaucrat who serves as Rogue One's antagonist. His end is a fitting one too, when his is obliterated along with a sizable chunk of the planet Scarif in a Death Star test-firing/scorched Earth operation authorized by Grand Moff Tarkin. But that wasn't the original fate the filmmakers had in mind for Director Krennic. In an unused scene, Krennic escaped the surface of Scarif and returned to the Death Star only to encounter Darth Vader, who promptly throttled him with the power of the Force for failing so spectacularly to defend the secrets of the Empire's superweapon. In the end, it was decided Krennic's escape from the fiery apocalypse on Scarif was a bit unlikely, and robbed him of the ironic death via the lasery Armageddon of the weapon he'd oversaw. But then, sadly, it also robbed the audience of another iconic Vader moment. Number 9, The Empire Strikes Back's Wampa Attack. The Battle of Hoth is one of the finest set pieces you'll find in the entire series, with its frantic surface battle and panicky claustrophobic scenes below ground as the rebels evacuate the icy tunnel system. The first iterations of the sequence, however, added a whole subplot about a pack of Wampas held captive by the rebels. During the build-up to the battle, they are seen stalking the rebel soldiers, and C-3PO cheekily removes a warning sign so the Imperial troopers blunder into the Wampas' holding pen. An Imperial snowtrooper walks obliviously into the room and is then hilariously devoured off-screen to the bemusement of all, including a certain Darth Vader. The scenes were justifiably cut for pacing, because they messed with the urgency of the Imperial attack. The Wampa design in general is also arguably one of Star Wars' least inspiring, being nothing more than a big angry Yeti, and the costumes were particularly ridiculous. With the scenes included, Hoth would have been a far less successful sequence, and the Wampas would have likely attained further notoriety in some corners as one of the original trilogy's worst ideas. Number 8, Grand Moff Jerjerrod vs Darth Vader. Return of the Jedi features the character Grand Moff Jerjerrod, the hapless Death Star commander whose primary purpose is to be utterly terrified by the knowledge the Emperor is coming to the battle station to cast a jaundiced evil eye over his progress. The original cuts of the movie featured an expanded role for Jerjerrod, including the Emperor ordering him to blow up Endor when the Death Star 2 shields go down. The most significant loss, however, was a scene where he encounters Darth Vader for a second time. Evidently having grown a bit of a spine since the opening scene, Jerjerrod refuses Darth Vader leave to enter the Emperor's throne room. Vader responds with his customary Force choke, almost killing Jerjerrod until he explains the Emperor himself gave the order. The scene completely alters the power dynamic of the Empire. Darth Vader is a commanding, unquestioned force in Return of the Jedi, answering only to the Emperor. Jerjerrod's obstruction of Vader suggests the Imperial officers are on par with Vader, a situation much more in keeping with what we saw of the Death Star's commanders in A New Hope. Number 7, Senator Amidala argues against the clone army. Senator Amidala and the various assassination attempts against her kick off the plot of Attack of the Clones. The reasons for wanting to kill her are made a lot clearer in a deleted scene, however, where she argues in the Senate against the proposal for a Grand Army of the Republic, later revealed to be the clone army of the title. Amidala rails against the use of violence against the separatist movement instead of diplomacy, and argues in favor of democracy and freedom. The scene was probably again cut for pacing reasons and because there was too much political nonsense in the prequels anyway, but it does help confirm just what is going on during the overcomplicated sequence of events surrounding Palpatine's rise to power. It also emphasizes the issue of why nobody honestly suspected Palpatine as the origin of the assassination attempts, since the scene confirms Amidala as a vocal opponent of Palpatine's policies. Number 6, The Force Awakens Stormtrooper Encounter. A rather charming sequence cut from the Battle of Maz's Castle in The Force Awakens was presumably once more snipped for pacing reasons, which is a bit of a shame because it would have come equipped with everyone's favourite smuggler back to his quick thinking best. Han, Finn and Maz are confronted by dastardly stormtroopers in the basement of Maz's castle, and Han, in classic lovable rogue form, tries to talk his way out of it. He even refers to Finn's stormtrooper boots, filling in a missing plot point about how Han was able to guess Finn's ex-stormtrooper origins. We see both Han's winning princess-stealing smirk and his equally adorable flummoxedness when things inevitably go wrong. Sadly, it all ended on the digital cutting room floor though, so we're left to merely imagine how the veteran space dog Han had kept up with his fast-talking ways of old. Number 5. Tosche Station. Remember when Luke whinged about going to Tosche Station to pick up some power converters? The station was the setting for a scene that kicked off an entire deleted subplot in A New Hope. Luke encounters his friend Biggs Darklighter, who is joining the same Imperial Flight Academy Luke envisages as his way off the dusty nowhere of Tatooine. Luke then confides in Biggs that he intends to jump ship and join the rebellion. Not only does this set up a link between Luke and Biggs later on, but it also helps explain one of A New Hope's most baffling gaps: how a teenage farm boy became a fighter pilot with apparently zero training. Biggs emphasizes here how Luke is the best bush pilot around, confirming the vague hints of Luke's flying skills in the film's final cut. The fact the scene is just two guys talking for a couple of minutes explains why it was cut out of an already sometimes sedate first portion of A New Hope, but it does help fill in some notable blanks all the same. Number 4. The Reunion. The second slice of the big subplot sees Luke encountering his old friend at Yavin 4, prior to the big showdown against the Death Star. It's a short scene that nevertheless confirms Biggs joined the Rebel Alliance as he promised, and explains why he's given a featured part in the final trench run assault. Perhaps most crucially, another pilot interrupts the boys' lovin' to say he fought with Luke's father, who was a great man. Of course, this little nugget would have thrown a massive spanner in the works of the whole "no, I am your father" thing in one movie's time, and suggests strongly that Luke and Vader's familial connection wasn't actually on George Lucas's radar when he was crafting A New Hope. As minor as this scene is, it really could have changed everything by potentially forcing the filmmakers to come up with a new twist for the final throwdown at Bespin, and changing the entire course of the movie series, Vader's character, and Luke's destiny. Number 3. Revenge of the Sith's elevator sequence. Revenge of the Sith has its share of cheesy, peculiar, and illogical moments, but it would have had a hell of a lot more if this bonkers sequence had been included. The scenes in question focus on Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting, bumbling, and wisecracking their way through General Grievous's ship, and an eventual confrontation with the four-armed asthmatic cyborg. Firstly, there's the all-round absurdity which sees the two Jedi demonstrate an ability to perfectly mimic R2-D2's blooping, beeping machine speak, a skill that makes no sense and has never been referred to before. Also, on top of some more comedy mugging where they ultimately get cornered by an elevator full of battle droids, the duo witness Grievous executing Shark T, a Jedi we've barely seen before and have no reason to care about. The two then escape that Grievous encounter after the sequence's nadir, involving a bout of mustache twiddling sign language to coordinate them running through the deck and fleeing. It's the absolute worst of the prequel's non-comedy and makes the pair look like sophomoric idiots. Number 2. The Rebellion is founded. The prequel series boasts an awful lot of politics, but you knew that already. And if the original plotline had been followed, it would have included a whole mess more, yay! A whole subplot was cut out involving Senator Amidala, Bail Organa, and a young Mon Mothma concocting an opposition to Palpatine's increasingly oppressive policies. It's understandable why the scenes themselves ended up in the bin. They consist of characters sitting around talking for a bit, while Amidala exhibits increasingly outlandish hairstyles. Their absence, however, leaves out an important piece of Star Wars history never addressed openly: the foundation of the rebellion that emerged to oppose Palpatine's new empire. The scenes imply that Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and the other assorted figures founded the rebellion, turning their political conspiracy into a military insurgency. If the cutscenes had been a whole lot more, interesting, that element of Star Wars might have survived intact too. Number 1. The opening to Return of the Jedi. After its opening scene of Vader arriving at the Death Star 2, Return of the Jedi kicks off with R2-D2 and C-3PO trundling and waddling respectively towards the gates of Jabba's palace on Tatooine. They proceed to bumble their way towards an audience with the malevolent Mafia Slug. In original cuts of the movie though, this sequence was preceded by shots of Luke Skywalker preparing for his mission to rescue Han and Chewie by building a new lightsaber to replace the one he lost at Bespin, along with the hand holding it. As he broods in a cave near the palace, Darth Vader tries to contact him with the Force and convince him to join in overthrowing the Emperor. The scene would have helped explain what Luke's been up to since Bespin, and shown him in an even darker mode, hooded and grim. It also reiterates Vader's motivation to make Luke into his apprentice, hinted at during his previous confrontation with Luke. The scene was fully filmed but was still left out of the final cut though. And that's our list of any other unused Star Wars scenes that would have changed everything. Let us know all about them in the comments section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. May the Force be with you as always. Thanks a lot for watching this video today, and hopefully I'll see you very, very soon. Bye bye!